The start of a new chapter in the championship begins at the 6.003-kilometer Baku City Circuit. With Monza marking the end of the European leg of the 2024 Formula One season, McLaren has emerged as one of the most competitive teams across circuits in Europe. This sets the stage for the McLaren MCL 38 single-seater to be a top contender again in Azerbaijan, as the championship moves away from spacious European tracks with wide corners to a mix of circuits with varying conditions and climates. Baku kicks off this phase with a circuit not as fast as Monza's, averaging 215 km per hour per lap compared to Monza's 260 km per hour. Despite this, Baku's long straights demand a low-downforce setup, a configuration that no longer poses an issue for McLaren, unlike a year ago. The Woking team now has a range of low-drag wings and beam wing options, updated between Spa and Monza, giving them an edge over Red Bull. McLaren's biggest strength remains the wide operating window of the MCL 38, crucial on a track where conditions can vary significantly. This includes the asphalt temperature, with the shadows of buildings creating varying temperature and grip levels across the circuit. Additionally, the wind, always present, is channeled unpredictably by the surrounding buildings. Scuderia Ferrari also looks to Baku with optimism. The street circuit features a consistent layout of short, slow, 90-degree corners that highlight traction and mechanical grip, areas where Ferrari feels confident in matching McLaren. The absence of long, high-speed corners typical of European circuits removes a weakness Ferrari struggled with over the summer. All eyes, however, are on Red Bull following their struggles in Italy. The Monza circuit was a disaster for the reigning champions, and they are unlikely to face another such difficult weekend. That said, the Milton Keynes team is still seeking solutions to the balance issues of the RB20. Baku's sequence of similarly paced corners might help them find a better balance, but the need for a low-downforce setup won't allow them to hide the inherent handling challenges of the Red Bull RB20 single-seater. Mercedes also remains in the mix. Tracks that highlight traction and rear tire management are no longer as difficult for them as they were earlier in the year. However, the team in Brackley is still grappling with a car highly sensitive to external conditions, leading to inconsistent performance. The W15, which won in July but struggled after the summer break, could still challenge for victory in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, depending on how well they set up the car. In Baku, Pirelli will again bring its softest compounds, C3, C4, and C5, which, combined with a smooth, low-grip track surface, will make it challenging to extract peak performance over a single lap. The September date for this race, as opposed to April, also brings higher ambient temperatures, likely increasing tire degradation, which is usually low on this track. As always, tire management will be a key aspect of the weekend, but braking performance will be just as crucial. The Baku circuit has 11 braking zones, with 7 of them involving decelerations exceeding 4G. The most intense braking occurs at turns 1 and 3, where drivers experience up to 4.7G, leading Brembo to rate the circuit as 4 out of 5 in terms of braking severity. The 2024 Formula One season has shown how strategic decisions and unpredictable moments can make all the difference in a battle often decided by hundredths of a second. One of the most significant variables in Baku is slipstreaming on the over 2-kilometer-long start-finish straight, where team tactics and qualifying strategies have often come into play. Starting grid position is particularly important on this circuit, where overtaking isn't as easy as the long DRS zones suggest. High top speed alone isn't enough to pass. The car also needs to stay close to the one in front through the tight middle sector. If on-track overtaking proves too difficult, frequent safety car or virtual safety car periods offer strategic opportunities, making the Azerbaijan Grand Prix one of the most unpredictable races of the year. For some reason, which is hard to explain, in Formula One, almost all drivers excel at certain circuits that, on paper, shouldn't be particularly demanding, like Monaco or Spa-Francorchamps. A classic example is the Russian Grand Prix in Sochi, a track with a rather dull layout where Valtteri Bottas often outshone multiple champion Lewis Hamilton. In fact, it was at Sochi where the Finn handed victory to Ferrari's future driver, obeying a specific team order. It's the same for Charles Leclerc at Ferrari. The Azerbaijan street circuit is one of those tracks that drivers either love or hate. Its peculiar layout, with an extremely fast third sector and more technical sections through Baku's Old Town, is essentially one of a kind. For instance, Sergio Perez is one of the best performers at this circuit, having secured 5 podiums and being the only driver to have won here at least twice. For Charles Leclerc, this track carries deep emotional significance. His father passed away on June 20, 2017, after a battle with illness. The next day, with a broken heart, the Monegasque driver took a flight to Baku, where the Formula 2 Azerbaijan Grand Prix was about to take place. Despite being in the fight for the world title, his team tried to convince him to withdraw and not race, but he wouldn't hear of it. Maurizio Arrivabene, who was Ferrari's team principal at the time, asked Charles Leclerc what he was doing on the plane. The Ferrari Jr. responded that he was going to Baku with them because he had to fulfill his duty and win, after which he would return home to bury his father. Later, Massimo Rivola, former head of the Ferrari Driver Academy and now CEO of Aprilia Racing, recalled that moment, explaining that on the eve of Baku, Charles saw his father Hervé die, but he took the first flight and made it to the track. Many would have crumbled in his place. For the record, the Monegasque driver won race 1, setting the fastest lap, and finished second in race 2. It was a weekend that will undoubtedly be etched in Charles's memory as he faced some of the toughest days of his life. Since entering Formula 1, Baku has given Charles Leclerc more disappointments than joys. In the country by the Caspian Sea, he scored his first points finish in 2018 and secured multiple pole positions. However, starting from pole here often means little. Just think of Charles Leclerc's phenomenal pole in 2021, even though it was clear the SF21 wouldn't be able to fight for victory in the race. It's a track that the recent Monza winner loves and with which he shares a natural connection. For this reason, it could be an opportunity to continue the podium streak that began at Spa-Francorchamps. In this chaotic season, Ferrari has had fluctuating performance, as the driver himself admitted in an emotional team radio after the Italian Grand Prix. Too many ups and downs this season, although the highs have been amazing, Charles Leclerc said 2 weeks ago, referring to the race victories in Monaco and Monza. Indeed, the races following those 2 victories for the Maranello team have been quite disappointing. The primary goal for Ferrari's mission in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix is to build on the potential shown at Monza, even though the Italian track is unique. The hope is that the aerodynamic updates introduced to the SF24 during the home race will also prove effective on a completely different track like Baku, the Temple of Speed. If that's the case, then Charles Leclerc could be involved in the battle for victory, thanks to his excellent feeling with the Baku City Circuit where, for various reasons, he hasn't been able to capitalize in the Italian cars. The Italian team is aiming for a strong weekend in Baku. They've prepared as best they could, looking for a setup that will optimize the performance of the SF24. The Italian car isn't the favorite and will face tough competition from Mercedes, Red Bull, and especially McLaren, which is currently the team to beat with their exceptional MCL38. However, Ferrari has Charles Leclerc, a valuable asset the Maranello team is counting on.